What's up, my fellow Washingtonian? It's your man Jay here, host of the Evergreen Report. When was the last time that you really thought about how Washington state policies affect your safety, your taxes, and of course your family? Whether you pay attention or not, they are affecting you. All those things. What goes on in Olympia affects you and me every single day. And here on the Evergreen Report, we want to make sure that you pay attention. This is the Evergreen Report, where we expose the impact of local government so you can take action. So, to jump right into our top story today, it's a jam-packed episode. I'm covering 15 bills that I found over the weekend that not a lot of people are talking about, but first and foremost, there's some things we got to talk about. This is being recorded Wednesday night, and currently tonight, the House and whatever, before the deadline, they are pushing to get to talk about it's incredibly important to talk about and something that we have to talk about because, well, we need to talk about it. I want to say it's House Bill 1296, and the way that Brandy Cruz broke this down was quite brilliant. Well, the House and the Senate both have their own versions of this bill, right? And they both want to pass their bill, but they're not passing it. They're kind of in a deadlock right now. So they just read in House Bill 1296, which would overturn the Washington Parents' Bill of Rights. It's the 5 o'clock bill, the last Chamber of Origin bill this session, likely to be a long night. So they are talking about this. It is going to go to a vote later tonight. They're debating it, probably as I'm recording this. And yeah, it's pretty gross that they're trying to pass this towards the later evening. I personally think that these shouldn't be going on. Like, these sessions shouldn't be going late into the evening because that's when people are tired. They're vulnerable. And that's when you have less judgment. And the point of that is for Democrats to wear down the Republicans to try to pass their bills and get what they want passed. So it's something we have to talk about. House Bill 1296. Just, continue to hope and pray that it gets overturned, that it doesn't go through, that that we all as parents can continue to have our right. Yeah, they're currently debating it live as we speak right now. 1,300 people are watching. And it's really interesting. I would love to. There's a lot of amendments on this bill. Lots and lots of amendments that they're talking about. So, yeah. In other news that is not so great is gas and diesel prices are heading up. Again, at least 40 cents a gallon. So here in the Tri-Cities, a lot of gas is right around $3.67, $3.57, $3.75, whatever. It's going to go over $4. Easy with this new bill. And it's really unfortunate. The Washington Department of Ecology screwed up so many elements of the Democrat state cap and trade tax scheme. But this isn't a screw up. This damage is 100% intended. And the best way to fix this is to repeal the cap and trade. So the CO2 tax is what this is being called. We'll add about 40 cents per gallon to gasoline and 48 cents for diesel after the results of the latest auction. So this sucks because it already wasn't so unaffordable as it is. Gas wasn't already so high. But yeah, let's make it more expected. Let's make it more unaffordable here in the state. It's just fantastic. So that's kind of the latest, the biggest, baddest things going on here. But nonetheless, we're here. I'm behind on the episode, so I will just wait to hopefully for a favorable outcome. Jim Walsh is doing a great job of covering this. Representative from somewhere in the state, but he District 19 here in the state. So hopefully 1296 does not pass. Keep your fingers crossed. Hope and pray that our parental rights don't get stripped. House Bill 2015 is the next one I want to talk about. Our top story of the day, our third top story of the day. So this bill creates a public safety program for law enforcement agencies, establishes a new criminal justice account for funding local police departments, and authorizes a 1% local sales tax increase for criminal justice purposes. Of course, so more taxes, right? It's always taxes. To fund law enforcement. Would it be good to fund law enforcement? Yes. Is there a bigger debate here? Yes. So why does it matter? Right? Your local police department might see an increased funding, but it comes out of your pocket. More taxes in a state that already has some of the highest in the country. The big debate on this one is more funding could improve police recruitment, training, and retention. Critics say that this is another tax increase when existing funds should be reallocated. And then finally, on this one, there's a huge local impact. There are some green flags, creates a funding stream for law enforcement, supports police recruitment with House Bill 1399 dying today. So House Bill 1399, which we talked about at length here on the podcast, about appointing the sheriffs and people and things like that. That's dead. That's gone. So praise the Lord that that's gone. So it supports police recruitment, but red flags is new local tax burden. It's tied to compliance with state policies, so that's probably one point that not a lot of people are talking about. Is local police must adopt state-mandated policies on use of force, de-escalation, and firearms to qualify for this funding. It could limit control over law enforcement training and force departments to adopt policies that don't fit their communities. The solution, allow more flexibility in training requirements while still ensuring professional standards. Yeah, tax increases should be a last resort. Raising sales taxes makes it harder for just affordability. Trying to fund state-approved policies could undermine local policing. And while funding law enforcement is critical, adding a new tax during economic struggles could hurt families and businesses. So, common sense takeaways here. Law enforcement needs funding, but not at the expense of unnecessary tax increases. Tying funding to a state-approved policies reduces local control over policing. A better solution might be reallocating existing state funds rather than increasing taxes. So yeah, that's kind of where that's at. So that's House Bill 2015. That's our top segment of the day. Those are our top 3 news stories that I really wanted to get to, that I really, really wanted to talk about. So let's jump into the rest of the Evergreen Report. So, first segment here on the Evergreen Report, the Evergreen Ledger, our legislation roundup. We're going to do 4 bills. I'm going to speed through these as fast as I can. House Bill 1817, sexual assault in public schools. You never thought you would have to worry about a bill about that, right? Well, this is Washington State, and we have guys like Jamie Peterson running the state. Again, this is just to reiterate, Jamie Peterson, if you ever catch wind of this podcast, you are more than invited to come onto the podcast. I would love to talk to you, because you got some problems, and I really want you to find Jesus in your life, man. And hopefully that he can heal you of your predatory prowess. And it's not good. Not good. Not good look. Not good look for Washington State. So, House Bill 1817, sexual assault in public schools. So, this bill aims to improve how schools handle sexual assault disclosures by introducing trauma-informed survivor-centered training for school staff, requiring mandatory reporter training, and developing a student and family guide on sexual misconduct laws and reporting procedures. The bill also involves the Office of Superintendent, so the OSPE, in shaping policies, which we don't want because Chris Radel is full of shit. Originally included the and the LYAC to provide student input, though this was later removed. So they don't want the input on this from students, of course. So there's some green flags in this, right? Stronger protections and support for survivors, mandatory reporting training, clear guidelines for students and families, encourages prevention and awareness. But red flags, parental rights, transparency issues. The bill is heavily student-centered, but does not clearly outline parental involvement. Some fear parents may be left out of key discussions in how sexual misconduct cases are handled. Solution, ensure parents are included in the training disclosures and given access to reporting data while respecting confidentiality. Again, minors shouldn't be given as much confidentiality as they are in the state. I'm sorry, that's just my take on it. If you don't agree with that, that's fine. You can disagree. I'm completely fine with that. But minors, they shouldn't be given as much power as they are in this state. Parents are the key stakeholders in their children's lives, not the government, not the school. So that's just something very, very, very important to remember. Let's see, OSPE power or versus local control. The bill gives OSPE greater control, which we don't want. Some argue that local school boards should have more say in how these policies are implemented. So yeah, we need to include the school districts on this one. They have a lot of really good people who could probably offer a lot of really good information. The bill focuses on trauma-informed responses, but does not mandate immediate police involvement in sexual assault cases, which is bad. Any sexual assault that happens to a student by a staff member needs to immediately be reported to police. That teacher should be immediately escorted off the campus and placed on administrative leave, pending an investigation, and just gone. Of course, due process, they're entitled to that. But outside of that, they should be immediately removed. There should be no ifs, ands, or buts. They should mandate police involvement. School staff are not investigators. Police should take the lead when a serious allegation is made. So this kind of gives school staff too much power. A bystander training, which is good intent but risky execution, does not clarify how staff should intervene. It could create liability issues, and there's no legal protection. There's no immediate state funding for this either. So this would require, we would need to school districts will need to allocate resources for training thousands of employees every 3 years, developing and translating student and family guides, updating materials to align with best practices. Schools with limited budgets may struggle to implement these changes without additional funding. Granted, I would encourage everyone to go and oppose this. It's a step in the right direction, but without stronger parental involvement and clear police coordination, it could face serious challenges. So, there's a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. So we're going to try to get to as much as we can. House Bill 1014, this is one that I have an issue with. I think I actually got an email about this one today from a buddy of mine. His name is Blair Daly. Okay, he actually emailed me about 1620. But House Bill 1014 here expands child support calculation for high incomes and low income parents. Let's see this one. 2019. So this bill updates Washington State child support laws by implementing recommendations from the 2023 Child Support Schedule Work Group. It expands the child support economic table, raises the self-support reserve, allows new deductions for mandatory insurance premiums, and introduces temporary abatement for parents in court-ordered mental health or substance abuse treatment. So this has a couple green flags, right? It protects low-income parents from extreme hardship. It recognizes modern financial realities, but the temporary abatement could be exploited. Where parents in court-ordered mental health or substance abuse treatment can reduce their child support to $50 per child per month for up to 6 months, one time throughout their lifetime. There's no requirement for them to make up these missed payments later, though. There's no requirement for them to make up the difference, which absolutely has to be included. Education expenses are shifted away from basic support, which education is a basic thing for our children, but having that removed from it is definitely not okay. By excluding education expenses from the economic table, parents will not have to negotiate these costs separately, which can just lead to more legal dispute and, just really more just headaches for our children. This is something that should be included. And then it doesn't clearly define what education expenses is to prevent that confusion. Financial impact, this could increase in the self-support revenue, allows low-income parents to retain more of their income for essentials. Expanding child support economic table ensures higher income parents pay fair share amounts and could lead to increased litigation. Courts and Department of DSHS will need to adjust child support calculation tools, which may require additional administrative costs, which 100% will. So common sense takeaway here, child support should balance the financial needs of the child with the paying parents' ability to survive. Temporary abatement is important for parents in treatment, but should not create a financial hardship for the custodial parent. A repayment plan would ensure this fairness. And the best system is one that minimizes legal dispute. Excluding education expenses may lead to more court battles rather than reducing them. The court gets rather expensive in, trying to these cases. Definitely something that needs a deeper look. Next, House Bill 1085. We're moving right along here. The bill expands criminal penalties and violence and threats of violence from at schools, and extracurricular activities. It increases the punishment for interfering with or intimidating school staff, students, volunteers, or referees, and requires public notification of these penalties at school athletic facilities. This would increase, stronger deterrence against violence at school events. It would include school sports participation could decline if students athletes face automatic 12-month bans for involvement in violent incidents. I don't think a child should be held to that standard. Adults, yes, but students, no. Because they could say one thing, heated in a moment, sports do get emotional, they could say the wrong thing, and then they're gone for 12 months. That can definitely ruin the trajectory of a young person's career. I don't agree with that. School districts may face costs for signage and enforcement, which, signs and whatnot, no funding's allocated for this. 2 green flags, increase safety for students and staff, harsher penalties for violence in schools, increases maximum fines and jail time, sends a strong message that violence at school events will not be tolerated. Red flags, overly harsh penalties for students. Like I was just saying, a full year ban is so bad. It could really hurt their future opportunities in athletics. Lacks flexibility for handling minor altercations differently from serious threats of violence. So it really needs to clarify those alternative disciplinary measures instead of automatic 1-year ban for all offenses. It definitely needs to be on a sliding scale, case by case. It needs to be just funded or worded different to be more clear. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Unfunded mandate for schools. Of course, this isn't funded. It requires signage, things like that. Signage will have to be made, sent out, things like that. Let's see. The common sense here would say protecting referees, students, and teachers from violence is crucial. Safety and respect is an important part of sports. Not all student altercations deserve a 1-year sports ban, though. Some of them should be case by case, not automatic. Unfunded mandates hurt schools. It should provide general funding to implement them. Next here, last one, House Bill 1273, expanding access to dual credit and career. I think we've talked about this one, but this just expands the CTE dual credit pilot program and improves credit tracking and articulation agreement. The goal is to make dual credit more accessible and transferable for high school students pursuing both college and career pathways. Green flags, and improves the student access to college credit. It expands opportunities for rural students. Red flags, there's no funding, no state funding guarantee. The bill includes a null and void clause, meaning it would not take effect unless funded in the state budget. Solution, ensure dedicated funding so schools can implement these programs successfully. Increase bureaucracy without immediate fixes. Requires multiple reports, data system upgrades, and planning committees before major improvements take effect. Solutions, implement immediate low-cost reforms while developing long-term solutions. Pretty common sense there. You can support this one if you believe expanding the career-focused education and making college credits more accessible will benefit students and families. But opposition, if you are concerned about excessive bureaucracy, potential funding gaps, and the need for more focus on private sector partnership. So we should bring in the private sector on some of these things to make sure we're creating these courses to match what the private sector actually wants out of our students and all that, to make sure that it matches and it aligns. That's common sense. Common sense here: more students should graduate with career-ready skills. Duh. Funding must be secured before expanding programs. Of course. Duh. Programs should be designed with industry input. Duh. We need the private sector partnership can help align education with job market needs. We want them to be prepared to go into the job market. Then we need to create a system that will get them into the job market that their employers are already looking for. That will be, oh, great, you got these skills, bada bing, bada boom, plug and play, ready to go. Segment 2, crime and consequences. Let's jump in. We're only on segment 2, and we got so much to cover. Maybe I was a little bit too ambitious with trying to cover 15 bills here. So I think I'll just go through what the bill is and then the common sense takeaways, and then let you decide from this point forward. So House Bill 1133, tougher sexually violent predator laws, so SVP laws, 1133. The bill modifies law related to the civil commitment of sexually violent predators by expanding definitions, tightening release conditions, and granting new investigative powers to prosecutors and the Attorney General. It also restricts SVPs from earning supervision compliance credit and limits their ability to petition for early release. So good, all around good. It does expand government power over private records, increase government control over SVP release decisions, but, keep the predators away from the people. Not a bad thing. This may not have as much judicial oversight as needed, but there's good in this one. Of course, there's never any funding for these or plan for where the funding is going to come from for any of these. So you always got to think, where's the funding going to come from for these programs that they do happen? We don't know. It's never told. Common sense takeaways: protecting communities from violent predators is essential. So expanding these would be a necessary step. Giving the government unchecked access to records is risky. Investigations should require judicial approval, not just a prosecutor's request. And a state-mandated housing should not be the only option. Courts should have discretion to approve reasonable, independent housing plans. No, sexually violent predators should absolutely be locked up and kept off the street and away from people, away from children, away from women, girls, men. Why would we grant them any kind of reasonable, independent housing plan? They can break that, go and create more crimes. Yeah, that's not a good idea. House Bill 1178. I think this one died. Honestly, I'm like 99% sure this one is dead. But let's go through it anyway. The bill eliminates certain sentencing enhancements, allow judges to decide whether enhancements run consecutively, and makes firearms and deadly weapon enhancements eligible for early release and partial confinement. Oh, we didn't know. So reforming sentencing enhancements in Washington. The goal is to reduce mandatory sentencing requirements and provide more judicial discretion. So it restores some judicial discretion in the sentencing process. It could reduce prison overcrowding and costs. Red flags, lighter sentence for firearm and gang-related crimes. Nobody wants that. Like, average person, if someone's like a violent offender with a gun, we probably should make sure that they're off the street. Public safety is kind of important. So eliminating gang-related sentencing enhancement could mean less deterrent from those recruiting minors into criminal activities. So if you eliminate those sentencing enhancements, it could mean less deterrent. So that's the red flag. Allowing firearm enhancement sentences to run concurrently may reduce penalties for violent offenses. Yes, we want to, punish them as they come. We don't want them just to keep running and be like, oh, you committed all these crimes, we're just going to let you run them consecutively, kind of thing. Keep the strict enhancements for violent repeat offenders while allowing judicial discretion in lower level cases. That's just common sense. What else does common sense say about this bill? Judges should have some discretion, but violent crime enhancements should remain strict. Eliminating sentencing enhancements for gang activity and school zone drug crimes is risky. Early release should be earned, not automatic. Public safety should remain a top priority. Even though to the Democrats, it's not. They don't give a shit. They don't care. They just want everybody out. No, prison's bad. Prison should be open to everybody. Not a good look. Let's see. House Bill 1400. Changes to officer certification and background investigation. So with 1399 dying, I would assume 1400 is also dying. But this bill updates certification requirements for law enforcement and corrections officers, strengthening background check requirements for officers transferring between agencies. It removes an extra step in the appeals process for officer certification revocation. Red flags in this one could increase hiring delays for law enforcement. It removes an extra review step for certification appeals, which, neither of those things sound great. because we definitely need the law enforcement in the jails, and increasing the hiring delays would be bad. A mandatory background test for interagency transfers could slow down that process. Establish a fast-track process for transfers with clean records while still enforcing strict background checks on questionable cases. To remove the extra review step for certification appeals, the ALJ issues a recommendation before an officer's certification is revoked. The bill removes that step. While this may reduce delays, it also removes an independent legal check on decertification decisions, potentially leading to rushed or unfair outcomes. The solution to this is to keep the ALJ's recommendation process, but allowing for expedited decisions in urgent cases. Let's see, again, no funding, slowing down the hiring time. Let's see, common sense would say police transfer should not be a loophole for bad actors. Stronger background checks for transfers make sense, but hiring delays should be minimized. Faster decertification is good, but due process still matters. You're entitled to your due process. Removing all independent review could lead to rushed or politically motivated decisions. The state should provide funding or resources to help police agencies handle these compliance requirements. I don't know if you know about here in Benton Franklin County, but about 2 years ago, 2 people died in our local facilities, our jails. So I covered that on the local report. So we probably want to make sure that we don't lessen anything for them. We want to keep them, pretty locked up, pretty snug in there. Oh, let's see. On to the tax trap. All right, House Bill 1796, expanding school district debt authority for construction. What does that mean? This bill allows school districts to take on debt and issue bonds without a public vote for school construction, modernization, and equipment purchases, as long as the total debt does not exceed 0.375% of the district's property value. However, only school districts that have passed a capital levy and have not been under financial oversight in the past 3 years are eligible. So green flags, it allows for construction to move faster. There's no new state tax or spending, kind of, borrowing on that equity, it sounds like, a little bit. A limit voter oversight on school debt. Typically, the school construction required a 60% voter approval. This bill removes that, and only school boards alone to approve the borrowing. We should still have public hearing and transparency measures to improve the accountability, because then stuff could be borrowed but never actually happen. There's a lot of slimy people on school boards, so be careful. The bill does not raise taxes, so that's a good thing. But it could still definitely have a longer term impact to repay that debt. Common sense says schools need to be built quickly, but taxpayers deserve oversight. Removing voter approval for debt sets a risky precedent. Districts should provide full transparency when borrowing under this new rule. It needs to be public information, no ifs, ands, or buts. Talking about school funding, let's talk about House Bill 1357, which I'm 90% sure we've talked about. Expanding special education funding and inclusionary practices. Yeah, we've talked about this. It increases education funding, promotes inclusionary practices, and reforms how schools account for special education costs. Green flags increase special education funding, expands grant programs for inclusive teaching. But, we should be getting rid of inclusive teaching since, that's kind of the federal mandate to do that. Funding increases may not cover the actual cost. That's a red flag here. The funding formula is inadequate. So reviewing the actual cost of special education services and adjusting funding to match the real need. Small school districts may struggle. Schools must apply for funding, meaning some districts may not receive the sufficient resources. Ensure grants and safety nets are accessible for all districts in need, not just those that can navigate the application process. Common sense here says special education should be well funded, but spending should be transparent and results driven. Inclusionary practices are valuable, but not every school district may have the same need. Yeah, every school district's completely different. I live in between like 5 different school districts over here. Kennewick, Pasco, Richland, Burbank, Benton City, and Prosser. There's all their needs are completely different from one another, right? I've worked in schools in each of the districts, and they're all completely different. Every school is different. Every school's needs are different. So it really just depends on the school, on the district. So long-term funding solutions must be in place to prevent financial shortfall after pilot program ends. So that's our tax trap. Let's jump into fentanyl and fallout. So this one's pretty simple. 27. This is expanding peer support services. This bill expands the role of certified peer support specialists, introduces new training for working with survivors of DV, sexual assault, and human trafficking, and directs the HCA to explore new funding options for peer support services. It also requires MCOs to prioritize peer services and Medicaid contracts. So peer support services are great. It's typically someone with the same lived experience to kind of walk you step by step through it. It can be really great. That access to the peer support in hospitals, clinics, and law enforcement programs could be incredibly beneficial. Encourages more funding for peer-run respite centers for people recovering from substance use disorder as well. Creates sustainable funding for peer support services. So It's a sustainable funding program. It could reduce hospitalizations and crisis costs by using peer support as a preventative measure. Let's see, red flags: increased bureaucracy and training requirements. Of course, they have to complete additional training before their agencies can bill for these services. Could limit how quickly peer support specialists enter the workforce. And funding's a little bit unclear on this one as well for implementation. How's it going to be funded and whatnot? Private insurances don't reimburse for these peer support services. Funding gaps could delay program expansion. Solution: ensure state funding covers implementation until private insurers fully adopt payment model. The common sense here: peer support can be an effective mental health tool, but funding must be sustainable. More oversight is needed to ensure Medicaid billing is not abused, and state funding should bridge the gap while private insurance adjusts coverage. That's it for fentanyl and fallout. Let's jump into the schoolhouse sample. Like I was saying, House Bill 1296, which is currently still being debated. 2,200 people are watching this right now live. Wow, that's incredible. People are watching this. People are tuning in. They are locked in right now to this. We're almost done. A couple more segments here. House Bill 1296, we already talked about it in great depth, right? There's a House version, there's a Senate version. It modifies parental rights, expands students' rights, strengthens employees' protection, enforces policies for transgender and gender expansive students. Removes some parental notification, all requirements regarding students' medical services and interactions with law enforcement, while increasing school district authority over compliance and disciplinary policies. It pretty much strips parents of their notifications, anything going on with their student. If you have a little John, but he's going by little Sue at school, all of a sudden they don't have to tell you. It takes away all those core rights. It removes you as the primary stakeholder in your kid's life. So please pay attention to this bill. It could have major impact. Thankfully, there is an organization out there that is ready to fight this fight and to fight back. There is already a counter initiative ready to go. It's already pre-filed. So if this passes tonight, it will literally be filed and pushed through first thing tomorrow. And we will be hitting that so hard. So hard here on the podcast. So it's just all red flag. It's just bad. It's just bad. Parents deserve to be informed. Schools should not hide medical or law enforcement interactions from parents. Education should focus on learning, not politics. Schools should prioritize academic achievement rather than mandated social policy. I posted something over on X today, or I retweeted it. I'm losing my voice. It's pretty wild, but let's see. I repost a lot just so I have it like there, right? Because I know I'm going to record. It's going to be right there. 8th graders are failing math and reading. 70% fail math, 69% are failing reading. Since the McClearly decision in 2012, we have absolutely failed our children, and we're at risk of losing our federal funding because of the, OSPE, superintendent, school district, everyone, they're refusing to follow federal law and get rid of DEI in schools. So it's frustrating, sad. So hopefully this does not pass. Of course, keep your fingers crossed. The state should not micromanage school districts or threaten funding for non-compliance. So this is the whole thing, right? House Bill 1213, let's jump into that one. That one's affecting paid family medical leave. So that would expand the worker protections in the state family medical leave program. The bill expands employment protections for workers taking paid family medical leave, extends healthcare coverage for employees on leave, and modifies small business grant eligibility to offset costs for employees. It also reduces the minimum time required to qualify for benefits and aligns job protection with federal family medical leave to approve extended periods of job protection stacking. So green flags on this one: extends healthcare coverage during leave, strengthens worker job protection, increased costs for small businesses. However, if they have less than 50 employees, they must now provide job protection and health benefits for workers on paid family medical leave. It could strain those small businesses who already struggle with staffing and financial challenges, because now you can't hire a new person to do that job. You kind of just have to work with what you got. Expand these state grants to help these small businesses cover these leave-related costs, right? So that they can offer the extra hours, the overtime, whatever they need to do. It could also have potential solvency issues in the paid family medical leave fund. It already received $200 million bailout in 2023 due to funding shortfalls. Expanding the coverage and eligibility without additional revenue could increase program costs and force future premium hikes on workers and employees. Solution: ensure a stable funding plan before expanding benefits. Common sense would say workers should have job security while on leave, but small businesses need support too. The paid family medical leave fund must be financially stable before expanding benefits further. Expanding state grants and tax relief could help businesses comply with new mandates. If you guys haven't paid attention, in the Tumwater School District, there was a high school girl, who refused to play in her last basketball game of the season because the other team had a biological boy on it, right? And she's like, I'm not playing. And then she was investigated for harassment and bullying of this boy because she refused to play against a biological boy in girls basketball. And the Tumwater School District doubled down and said, you know what? We are going to protect our girls and their sports and their private spaces. And yeah, biological boys, we're going to follow federal law in this and keep it going. So I am so proud of them. They're buckling down. They are doing it. And it is great. But the woke left is coming after them hard, coming after this little girl hard. And, you know, this girl, I don't know her name off the top of my head. But gosh, everyone is so proud of you. There's hundreds of thousands of people that are just so proud of you for standing up for what you believe, for standing up for yourself, for standing up for girls. So freaking proud of you. There's tons and tons and tons of people out there, more than half the state, support you. So thank you for being a change agent and leading the change. So shout out to you. I wish I knew your name, but I don't know it, unfortunately. But still, you're amazing. So keep doing what you're doing. And let the woke left continue to melt down. All right, I'm not even going to transition here. I'm just going to jump in. Your voice matters. What's on your mind? This week, we were talking about House Bill 1296. Parents should be notified when schools give students medical services. So send us your take. Go and watch this freaking live stream. It's still going. 2,500 people are watching it right now. The Washington House Republicans page. Go and watch it. Go tune in. I'm going to tune in as soon as I'm done with this. I'm going to listen to it while I edit this and process it and get it posted. If you want to take action, call your representative. Ask where they stand on House Bill 2015. Details can be in the show notes. You'll be able to find those everywhere, of course. And again, know the facts, demand better, take action. See you next time right here on the Evergreen Report. Remember to follow us on X and Instagram for updates between episodes. If you got a story, send us a message and we might feature it next time here on the podcast.